Hello, good morning, everyone. This is the day 2 of 2024 mid-year conference of American Osteopathic Colleges of Ophthalmology, Otolaryngology, and Head and Neck Surgery. The topic, as we said yesterday, is 4 chores of a physician. Now, who here wants to do some early work just today within the session, and that'll earn you 2 more hours of very high quality CMEs. So if you are interested in that, just stay tuned. We're going to do the work within the session, and then at the end, you'll be ready to earn extra 2 hours of CMEs. And we yesterday started the session, and then we heard from our heroes, from our champions who went on their own individual quests and put it together as an expedition. We're having fun listening to them. So before we do anything, let's take attendance. Say hi in the chat so we would know that you are here.
Hello.
Hello, and please say it in the chat as well. Los Angeles, my goodness, that is early. The East Coasters dominate in this conference. Hello. What time is it in Timor? Tulsa. Akron, Las Vegas. Vegas is early. Vegas uses California time. Chicago. Yeah, James? You can unmute.
9 p.m. in Timor.
Oh, 9 p.m. Okay, very good. So we have international representation here. Yes, go Buckeyes. It is going to be a good day, and any day among friends is a good day. So, okay, thank you so much. That because this is an official CME program and taking attendance is part of it. And when you say, yes, good morning from Detroit. So when you say hi, this is a way of taking attendance. Otherwise, you can write to Ralph, and who is your executive director, and he will take care of everything. Okay, so today, let's also again, bring our mind here, but in a little different way. And instead of the breathing, we will engage another sense. And in fact, this will involve multiple sensations. So, and then it starts with eating. Who has their mandarin or clementine ready? Do you have your mandarin or clementine ready? I got 2 of them. Okay. And okay, if anybody needs to get it, yes, I see that. Dr. Trainer is showing his Mandarin. So have it ready. This is such a wonderful thing to do at work. This is such a wonderful thing to do with others. And because you will have the recording, you can do it again in a group as well. Let's say, if I have done this so many times at our work, it's so much fun to do. Almost always start with something which can arouse the senses, like a mandarin. You see, eating and drinking are such ordinary, routine, and mundane experiences, and we overlook their depth. Like we take breathing for granted, we take walking for granted. And most of us eat mindlessly all the time, just like our mind's natural state is mindlessness. So to teach you to eat mindfully and luxuriate while doing that, we will mindfully eat this citrus fruit. You can also use this as a gratitude meditation. We're not doing that today. Enough of gratitude. You're going to luxuriate and savor today totally for your own experience. People also sometimes ask, oh, if I do this, will it help me lose weight? I don't know. And for the sake of this meditation, please enjoy guilt-free. The point of this is that you will savor. Savoring is the quality where you enhance the experience of something by intentionally focusing on the pleasure and starting the pleasure, prolonging the pleasure, and increasing the intensity of the pleasure. You can do this with any kind of food, but I'll be eating a mandarin. It means nothing without your participation. So on this very beautiful morning, let's enjoy a mandarin together. So please sit comfortably, free from distractions. Take the mandarin in your hands and just close your eyes. Let your fingers and palms touch the fruit's surface. Notice your sensations. Take your time. Notice the shape. Feel all the bumps and the crevices and the curves. Feel the texture of the skin. Now hold the mandarin up to your nose and feel it with your nose and your lips. Move it around a little. Take a good sniff and notice your reaction to the citrusy smell. Now open your eyes. Hold the mandarin about 12 inches away, allowing your gaze to focus on the fruit. Notice all the subtle shadings of color, the tiny details that make this mandarin different from any other mandarin. Now think of how this mandarin came to be in your hand. Think of the tree that produced it. Think of the person who planted the tree and all the people who took care of it. Think of all the sunshine, air, and water that were needed to nourish this tree and produce this fruit. And now this fruit will become a part of you as well. Now we'll take the fruit and begin to open it. Break the skin with your thumbnail. And now smell it. Oh, the smell is so much more intense now. Continue to press your nail into the skin and slowly peel it back. And keep it close to your eyes, as close as comfortable without hurting your eyes. Look at the pulp underneath. See the texture and shadings of color underneath. See the strings of pulp that cling to the mandarin. Feel the sensation of moisture on your thumb and fingers. See how some parts are easy to remove, some parts are hard to remove. It starts to mimic life. For the next peel, keep it close to your ears and listen. Listen to the sound of the skin tearing away from the fleshy part. And when you separate the skin, take a good whiff before you put it away. When you have completely separated the peeling from the flesh, Observe the edible flesh now. Notice the colors, notice the textures. There are many crescent-shaped sections of the fruit. See how rough the surface appears. Now slowly break it in half. Hear the sounds of separation as these sections try to cling to each other. See how tightly packed everything is. How nicely arrayed. Look like they're about to burst open with juice. Now take one piece, and when you put this in your mouth, don't bite on it right away. Let it rest on your tongue. So please do put it in your mouth, but without biting, let it rest on your tongue. Close your eyes and let your tongue examine the fruit. Use your tongue to move it around. It's already beginning to release its juices, and there's a lot of saliva being produced as well. Now softly bite into it to release more juices. Oh, swish the juice around in your mouth. You can swallow as you feel comfortable. Chew slowly and thoroughly, and allow the fruit to slide down your throat. Now concentrate on the lingering sensations in your mouth. Notice how the sensations that were so intense just a few moments ago are now fading away. Notice the impermanence. Now see your own response to that impermanence. And when you're ready, pick up another slice and repeat the process. All the while concentrating on your own sensations and reactions. Please try to savor this experience without judgment or evaluation. Do this for each piece of the mandarin until it's gone. And pause in between to prolong the savoring. Don't pick up another section until you have completely finished with the one that's in your mouth. This impermanence also mimics life. As you're doing this, focus on the possibilities available to you for using the ordinary experience of eating to deepen your awareness so you can act in more wholesome ways. It would be great to practice mindful, luxurious eating with savoring, one meal each week. This is such a modest beginning. And as you start to see the benefits, you may want to have mindful meals more often. And you'll also begin to notice how the practice of mindfulness while eating starts to affect all of your life's experiences. Let this yum be a part of your life forever. Oh. While you're savoring this, let us continue our program. Any comments, any first reactions to luxuriating eating, savoring meditation? Anyone wants to share anything in the chat, unless you're too busy enjoying, savoring your citrus fruit. And people who have joined late, please write in the chat. Say hi if you haven't done already. That's a way to take attendance. Yes, thank you, Dr. Greening. You said what a great day to start the day off. Dr. Morris says, I like how the taste lingers and fades slowly. Yes, hi, hello, Philip, hi, Eric. Yes, it's an experience. Once you do it, you never forget it. It's such a mundane thing. You can do it everywhere, any place. Hi, Dad says hi. Dad's iPhone is saying hi. Okay, very good. So I have to change our sequence a little bit. Dr. Engelberg will be talking first. So today we'll have one champion talk first, and then we will talk about some advanced topics which came up yesterday. And this is one part of this program which changed the most with the contributions from these 14 champions, these 14 facilitators. This part changed the most because what they were experiencing, what they were saying things back to me, I had to answer that, respond to that, rather than just, going blindly and saying, no, you need to do this. Okay, so let us see, who is it today? Give me a second. Okay. So like I said before, this is our day 2. And these are your 8 teachers on day 2. And first up is Dr. Moises Engelberg. Dr. Engelberg is a board-certified vitreoretinal surgeon in private practice at DLV Vision in Westlake Village in California. He is an assistant professor at Loma Linda University Eye Institute. He received his medical degree from Touro College of Osteopathic Medicine and completed his ophthalmology residency at Larkin Community Hospital. He completed both a medical retina and uveitis fellowship as well as vitreoretinal surgery and diseases fellowship at LLU. Originally from Caracas, Venezuela, Dr. Engelberg brings unique perspective and a multicultural approach to patient care. He's fluent, obviously, in both English and Spanish. He's able to communicate and connect with a diverse patient population. He has a passion for reading literature, cooking, traveling, all the ways to allow him to explore new destinations and immerse himself in different cultures. All right, Dr. Engelberg.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
How are you, Harjan?
Good, good, good.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I just want to first center ourselves and imagine if you're driving 100 miles an hour and suddenly you start feeling your steering wheel going to the left or to the right, and you suddenly know instinctively that something's wrong. You suddenly have to stop and you realize that you have a flat tire. Okay. That's more or less the feeling that I had when my lead tech said that she was leaving for personal reasons. Imagine managing your day-to-day affairs, having a busy clinic of to 65 patients a day, running around, having complex vitreoretinal surgeries, and suddenly the cornerstone of your clinic tells you this isn't for me and I need to take some time off. That's more or less the feeling that I got. So with that frame of mind, that's sort of how I approach this program. I try to use my strengths to sort of revamp my team and sort of coach also my assistants, my techs, my scribes through this adjustment period. Losing a team member, as we all know, and leaves space for change. And mostly when it's actually your lead tech and you have a busy clinic and quite a surgical burden to actually manage. This was the person that was in charge of scribing, sending for pre-auths, and adding to my surgical schedule, as well as communicating with insurances and following up on all the clinical background and medications I request. So it was quite a task. I was given a replacement, so to speak, a young, bright-eyed gal, and I try to use my strength, which in reality is sort of an abstract strength that I had the opportunity to discuss with Harjat. And it's a abstract strength for a physician, and that is appreciation of beauty. So out of all things, we can be lifelong commitment to learning, we can be leaders, we can be courageous, but out of all things, that's my strength. And how can I sort of weaponize, or how can I make it relevant to this? So I believe that, as cheesy as it might be, I try to approach this by talking from the heart. So the first time this gal sort of interviewed for the job, I sat down with her and I told her what being a vitreoretinal surgeon means to me. How did I do this? What does speaking from the heart mean? It's sort of similar to this mindful meditation that we just did. It is appreciating every single detail in somebody's journey from darkness to light. Patients come with fear to my office, and they should leave with hope and relief. And that's more or less how I approach her. And I told her this is a very important thing to me, and it's my commitment to my patients, and it's my goal of therapy and goal of treatment. It's what I wrote on my personal statement applying to medical school and residency through fellowship. And it's still at the core of how I practice as a physician, is trying, at least, even if it's just a mundane floater, trying to talk to them through it and watching for warning signs. But not even that, it's giving that sense of relief and knowing that they have somebody that they can count. I told her this, and I think it set the mood for her to enter that frame of mind. It was not only the acquisition of a new member of the team, I tried also appreciating all the things that all my techs and the people around me and my team bring, right? Is it a perfectly taken optos, a beautiful OCT, the trays being laid out perfectly, being a wonderful surgical tech or scrub and doing a amazing job of anticipating. All of those little details sort of enriched my life in beautiful and eightfold ways, so to speak. Regarding more or less the plans and the movies that we watched, there's two films, and they're sort of abstract films, so to speak, or they are new age films or artistic films, such as Baraka and The Flight of the Red Balloon. And they also try to emphasize these things, the appreciation of beauty. Baraka is a film that emphasizes human ritual and human connection amongst each other, as well as connection to nature. And I know as ophthalmologists, we spend most of our time in a dark room waiting for patients to dilate, and we have conversations in dark rooms. But I appreciated just the way light was brought into the room, and appreciated my patients' demeanor, the way they spoke, just the human interaction. Even though there might have been some challenging cases, challenging patients, as we all have, I try to appreciate the subtleties of the conversation. I saw it as a opportunity for my own personal growth. As my closing remark, one of the quick lessons that I take from these conversations that I have with Harjit was that sometimes some of the weaknesses that we have are overused strengths. And I try to think that maybe on leadership or courage, it's perhaps I've been doing this as an intrinsic part of my team and the person at the helm of the retina service at my current institution, is that perhaps we're overdoing them. So it's important to reconsider what that role is, and it's almost like strenuous exercise, right? You overdo a certain part of your body, you need to sort of relax before tackling another running session after doing a 5K, that sort of thing. So with that in mind, I thank you, Harjat, and I've taken it to heart, and I appreciate the work and the framework that you've given us.
Very nice. Thank you. And you take first prize so far for the best opening. Man, you had our attention. Who else noticed the opening and he had the attention right from the first line? Imagine you're driving 100 miles an hour, okay? And then suddenly the car goes to the left and you can't control it, or to the right. So I loved it. This is really, really good application. And that visualization that you called abstract that's how it works. In fact, when people are go into management schools, people go into administration schools, or even when they've taken some kind of leadership trainings, what is your unique signature? If you get to that, it all works very quickly, just like what you did. In fact, I have a question for you. How aware were you of this strength before? And then after using it, how did it feel?
I think like most strengths, they're latent. They're tacit. Like, they're there, but it was nice, almost like a diagnosis of sorts. Like, you've had this for the longest time, but you were able finally to apply a label to it. So it sort of validates it. That's how it felt.
That's how it felt. Very good. Okay. Well, does anybody else have any question? Otherwise, we'll let Dr. Engelberg go. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate the space you've created, Hart.
No, this is your colleges, and belonging to these colleges, belonging to your guild is very, very important, I think. In fact, more and more young people, the more they join, they will give a new direction to the college. The college doesn't have to have the same direction forever. Yeah, so very good. Nicely done.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
So, and at this point, we will go on to the next section, which has something to do with the idea that came up yesterday, which was the urgency. And you heard Dr. Engelberg also talk about, who heard Moises explain the urgency to his staff? That while he was explaining using his strength, that he was able to create that sense of urgency as well. Did you hear that? But that's the beauty of using your signature strengths. And so in that sense, that urgency isn't like a theoretical exercise. That urgency isn't something that, oh, well, we will think about it or create some kind of panic. It's something just, normal. It's not like that scary, crazy urgency. It's something that just flows out. Yeah, Dr. Trainer said he's a true team member, aware of his team. That's exactly the truth. That people say, I'll have a team, but they themselves don't behave like a team member. They feel like they're above the team or some such thing. And that never works. So, okay. Let's review. And then, of course, this was one of the things that urged me to talk about this topic differently than what I had originally planned. You heard Dr. Morris talk yesterday about how urgency felt like panic, whereas as we realized that urgency isn't panic, urgency is having that sense of direction and constant momentum that has to be there. That's where initial motivation starts to fail, initial inspiration starts to fail, especially if you're working with multiple people, but a sense of urgency. You heard Dr. Solano talk about having a sense of urgency and inspiration using the mission. He used his strength of spirituality and he used his mission to talk about that. Do you realize this is where all those tips and tricks start to fail? But and you just go deep within, and each of these doctors did this on their own without me actually telling them that they can do this or that. We just discussed their strengths and they came up with the solutions on their own. But now they have to do it over time. That's just the only thing. Okay. So this is where, instead of urgency, I started that we have to start with this mindset. And then only you get to practice. So set and setting, mindset and setting is what we're going to discuss for some time. So when we are talking about this thing, one of the very important things to remember is that this is absolutely a professional duty of a doctor. This isn't something that's gonna, fall from the sky or something like that. This is something that you have to build it if you want to be even a good doctor or lead others. Okay. So that's where, let me remind you of the context. So whenever this kind of discussion starts, the first thing that leaves the room is the context. But let me bring you back to the context, which is how, when you're on this journey, we talked about the two peaks. So when you have climbed the first peak successfully, and now you're looking at the next one, this first peak climbing was a professional journey. Let's call it Pro 1.0. And climbing this second peak is also a professional journey. And for a doctor, I call it Pro 2.0. It's just that the way to do this is different. So you are engaged not only in some kind of inner victory, you're also engaging with others. And that's where how others see you becomes very, very important. And those others are not just your patients, they are your team members, they are other colleagues, and also administrators, a board of governors. Sometimes you have to, not just the patients, but you have to speak to the lay public. And some of you have spoken to your legislators. That's where, how do others see you and how do you want others to see you is very, very important. So that's where sometimes it becomes a source of frustration if all they see you is a technical expert. And this is a very proud position to be in. It's not a bad position to be in. But the idea that if you're going to influence other people's thinking or feeling or action, you're going to have to move up. So this Pro 1.0 to 2.0 journey is like that journey. And it's a kind of a mindset that has to be cultivated. So that's where you have coworkers, that's good. But even building a good team, which is a good manager's job, is very, very important. And then only you get to move to have followers so they can see you as a leader when something new comes up, when they have to go out of their way to do something for you. Otherwise, why would anybody care? So keeping this spirit in mind, let's look at we have been talking since yesterday about an expedition. We also mentioned the word quest. And I drew the distinction that this is a singular thing when you're doing it alone, and this is when you are with others. So in Pro 2.0, most of the times you are with others. It's a very rare person. When I used to have my cash practice, I remember that was kind of a solo practice. I didn't have anybody else because we could just do it right there. It was a very easy schedule management. Payments were just like this. You take the money. So the idea that we are not an island is where this whole thing is coming from. And when we talk about the leader leads with impact, you have to be impactful. And leadership is followership, which means you do it with others. But in Pro 1.0, there is an end in sight. There's board certification. So there's end of residency or fellowship, there's end of, board certification, then you take on a job. Pro 1.0 comes to an end. But Pro 2.0, lifelong learning is a lifelong process. And that's where ritualizing is one of the most important things you can do. I will allow me to explain. And again, in a quest, sometimes people bring up habits. But habits are not the only way to do new things, new ways. We humans, through thousands of years of our existence, have had rituals. And we do them without questioning. We have religious rituals. We have life, what should we say? We have life event rituals such as birth and death. And we have annual rituals. Even commencement when we do is a ritual. Admission process is a ritual. So why do we stop doing this at the end of our being Pro 1.0? So even the best researchers will talk about there are 3 ways to change human behavior. One is a habit. But second is, if you are in a milieu where people do things differently, you change with them as well. For example, one of the best ways to be a good student in college is hang out with other good students. If you start to hang around with slackers, you won't do well. It's that simple. We all know this instinctively. In Sweden, who has heard of the ritual of fika? Has anybody heard of ritual of fika? F-I-K-A? This is a Swedish ritual, workplace ritual. It's done daily at 10 a.m., where you have a small cup of coffee with your coworkers, and sometimes a small cookie or a pastry is eaten with it too. Now imagine what are the chances if you move to Sweden that you will also start taking part in fika? The chances are very high. On the other hand, if someone from Sweden moves here, there's a very high chance that they will lose fika very fast, which means being with others and the rituals that we do are very powerful. We just don't see them like that. So being impactful with others and how you ritualize it, that's where when Dr. Engelberg was talking about baraka, watching it daily, that's one way of looking at it. Whereas when, like Dr. Morris was saying yesterday, then, you know what, in an administrative pace, things are done quarter to quarter. That's another way to ritualize. So there's more than one way to ritualize this, depending on who you are, what your situation is, and what your strengths are. And that's where, you know, it's like creating a ritual of being excellent with others. With others, I didn't just say, have an impact on others. With others means that they will also help you do it. By now, you have heard many stories of how doctors have engaged their staff to help them. That's what with others means. That's where I have a lot of respect for expeditions, because when you go on even a quest, a hero has a helper, a hero has a guide, a hero has a mentor. So hero doesn't just exist in a vacuum. Yeah, the hero doesn't exist in a vacuum. So keeping this in mind, visualizing this becomes easy if you think that you have been doing rituals all your life with others. That's the beauty of ritual, is it's done with others. It's not done alone. In fact, we have cheapened some of these words in the form of, oh, that was a ritual for them to go uh, at this phase to Europe for a week's vacation. But what you don't realize is when you're doing a ritual, there is a sense of change inside that happens. So that's where when you are actually doing the ritual, it's considered a sacred space in anthropology. Sacred as in something you're doing that you are not aware of and that you haven't done before. So that existence, when you are doing ritual to do something different or in a different way, those moments are different than when you're not in that moment before, when you're not in that moment after. So it's anthropologically a very strong feature of us humans to take part in these things and make our life better. The other thing is rituals make life predictable. So in Pro 2.0, because there is no end, it's like, oh, the death is the end, obviously, but you're like, okay, what do I do? So this way you can actually say, okay, for this quarter, I can do this, or we can do this. And then those small steps and small movements become energizing by themselves. And we were talking yesterday, and I wanted to clarify this. I got messages that, okay, can you formally tell the difference between andragogy and pedagogy? First of all, even being Pro 1.0, you haven't been purely pedagogical. When you were in residency, you were applying things right away, fellowship, residency, and even after that. However, mostly the pedagogy means that learner is dependent on decision of the teacher, whereas in andragogy, you're going to be self-directed. Pedagogy assumes that the learner has few life experiences, but in andragogy, you are right in the thick of life, right in the middle of life. So You don't need more life experiences at that point. You already have enough. And in pedagogy, the teacher dictates what you will learn, whereas in andragogy, your needs. So yesterday, when I was talking about pains, and then the question came up, are pains the problems? Yes. Are pains the needs? Yes. Are pains desires? Yes. Are pains wants? Yes. They're all pains. So they're closely related to what helps you be successful. And that's mostly your social role as a parent, role as a child, role as a spouse, role as a doctor, role as a leader, all those roles, and what your learning need is to get to the next step. And usually the content drives pedagogy, but pain, problem, needs, wants, desires, they drive andragogy. In pedagogy, the structure, the scaffolding comes from the outside, whereas in andragogy, it comes from within. So most teaching kind of swings between this and that. But the more you go this way, it ends up being more applicable and useful in becoming the next pro when you're trying to climb the next hill, the next peak. And that's where that because we say you have to ritualize being excellent, being impactful with others. The others are not you. The others are different than you. And generally speaking, doctors find it very difficult to deal with administrators, be it their own practice admins, their hospital admins, insurance admins. They find that they are very difficult to deal with. And this comes up all the time. Let me tell you a quick story. I used to coach a medical director of an 8-physician specialist practice, which was part of a very big system. They said, we have tried everything, but the admin won't approve extra tax for us. Until this came up. And I heard one of them tell me, I have even yelled at the CEO and they are not budging. So we did a quick strength assessment. We realized that, of course, each one of them had different strengths, but they had failed at appealing to the pathos of the admins. They had failed to connect the idea that admins may come and go, but the board of governors, which was made of local community, had a very strong presence and had everything in their best interest for their department to succeed. So they did start, like how you heard Dr. Engelberg start, with a bang opening where a real incident had happened, a safety incident, where a patient, and you may think, oh, this is not a safety incident, but in my mind it is, because access is a lot. So a staff member's father had delay in the service because they did not have enough techs. And that story illustrated, and then of course the father got sicker and sicker before he could even get care. And that created so much pain in within their department and within general community. This time they walked in and they took their staff with them and they told the story with pictures of the father, of course, with permission. So imagine treating the admins like human beings and bringing pathos, not just logos. They didn't just get extra staff, they ended up creating a training program where the staff could climb up and get raises based on their level of experience and competence as they showed. That's the importance of understanding the other person, being impactful with others. And that's where taking your physician hat off and putting that human hat on and walking in that you're going to be a full spectrum speaker who will bring in context and ethos and pathos and logos is very, very important. And that's where using your character strengths will help you. So let's look at this chart quickly. A physician is going to be science-oriented, logos-oriented. And an administrator has to look at the bigger picture for the survival of the practice, for the survival of the system, organization. A physician will be saying one-on-one interaction is my way of doing things, but an administrator has to work with a group. So does a team. Physician values autonomy. But as you rise up, collaboration, more and more collaboration becomes the name of the game. Even when you delegate, it's collaborating with another human being, valuing what they bring to the table. A physician will focus on patients, but an admin will focus on organization. Even a solo practice owner physician will focus on the practice as well. Now, this next one is hard because we do identify with our profession, but an admin has to look at their organization as well. So that's where being independent is good. But like Stephen Covey says, interdependence is the highest form of human existence. He says that right at the beginning of his book, 7 Habits, interdependence is the highest form of human existence. So as you rise up as a physician, you climb the next peak. It is only scalable with interdependence. And that's where trying to understand how other people think, feel, and act is just as important if you want to get mileage out of them as well. If you want them to work with you and take you to the next level of your professional excellence and professional success. And that's where the timeline of a physician may be seconds or minutes. An administrator is thinking months and quarters. A legislator may be thinking term. Whenever they're going to elections next, how that's going to play out. So understanding the other person's needs and how you create urgency using that is the name of the game. Okay. So by the way, if you have any questions, just ask me in the chat because I am watching the chat as well. So that's where as Pro 1.0 is kind of like how you put directions in Google. These are simple directions going from Albany to New York. And it tells you it's 150 miles. It'll take you 2 hours and 43 minutes. Oh, by the way, there's a second path as well. You can take that one if you want. And I know from experience, the second one is more scenic. And along the way, you can ask, where is a fast food restaurant? Or if there's a fancy restaurant along the way, is there a picnic area along the way? Yeah, you can do that. You can even take a little detour here and there, and that's okay. But it's predictable. You have a dependable vehicle, you'll get there. You can take public transport too. So there are more than one ways, but you have to get to Albany and you will get there before the end of the day. However, 2.0 mimics this. Has anybody seen this? This is a Tibetan Tangha. Has anybody seen this before? Who has seen this before? Okay, this is called 9 stages of, okay, it's Samatha, Samatha meditation. Yes, Dr. Trainer has seen it and shared with many people. Samatha is calm abiding. So these are 9 stages. of not only meditation, but 9 stages of as we go through life. Every day we almost start a new life, and this is how it plays out. As opposed to life being predictable like this in 1.0, in 2.0, this is how it's going to look like. This is a lot of fun. Let me show you what this is. So as we talked before, the natural state of mind is mindlessness. So in this painting, this big elephant is your mind because it's powerful, but it's dark because it's slow and dull because it's being led by that monkey. The monkey has control of the trunk of the elephant and is leading the elephant, whereas the monk, which is you, who has just left the safety of the house, is trying to capture it, trying to catch it. So the monk wants some control over the mind. And the monk has a goad, which is not to hurt the elephant, but it's to control the elephant, and a lasso. What a beautiful visual, right? And in the beginning, they're doing a lot of back and forth because the monk and the elephant and the monkey, they're scared of this big fire, which indicates the effort that's going to be needed to control the elephant. So that's where, in the beginning of anything, in this case, a meditation practice, the idea isn't to spend a lot of time figuring out which meditation to do, where to do it, how long to do it, or take time off to do meditation. Or when I say meditation, anything, self-improvement or journey to leadership, doesn't matter. But the first step is to establish a practice of doing it. So before you focus on even creating a new habit, and that's what I mean by ritualize it, having a practice. If you say, I want to learn how to solve problems, well, ritualize solving your problems. Instead of focusing on how to solve problems or what problems to solve, say, I want to ritualize solving problems. Even, you have seen so many tools that you saw Scale Will Matrix, which will guide you how to solve problems. You saw Eisenhower Matrix yesterday, which will also help you solve problems. But it'll be just as useless as this dull, slow, mindless elephant if you don't do it regularly. And that's where doing it with others is ritualizing. So if you do it with others and schedule doing it, and you will do it at that time with others because they'll hold you accountable, that's one of the best ways to start this journey. So that's the stage one. In stage one, a lot of energy is spent to establish the practice itself. Because as you move forward, yes, things start getting easy in second stage. The lasso is up and the goad is up. The fires are less. And the monkey and the elephant are starting to get a little bit lighter. But at this point, the distractions start to show up. The fruit is a distraction. These are sensory distractions. Music is a distraction. They start to distract the monk. But if the monk continues, you can see for the first time, the monkey and the elephant look back at the monk. And they're getting lighter and lighter. And the monk has the lasso around the elephant's neck. The mind is looking back at the monk. Your mind is saying, yeah, you have me under your control now. But look, very interestingly, a third animal appears. What's the third animal? Did anybody notice another animal appearing? Which is still very dark. What's this animal? Anybody? Here's this bunny. A rabbit has appeared up on top. And in this discussion, it's the bunny of intellect. That's where when you feel like you have established a practice and you're doing it, and that you know how to do it, it starts feeling like, oh, I got it. That's why this is called a 9-stage meditation, not 3-stage meditation. This is where, when in the first round, let's say after a New Year's resolution, somebody is successful in losing some weight, they feel like, oh, I got it. Not realizing that there is more left to do because life is much longer than 3 weeks or 3 months. So this bunny of intellect also creates problems, because once it's almost like if a medical student knows the answer to a question, oh, what's the medication of choice for uncomplicated urinary tract infection? Oh, it's Bactrim. Yes, I know that. But people who are actually in practice, they know the answers are not that simple. The answers depend on many other variables. So this bunny of intellect is that 1.0 pedagogical bunny, which says, if I know something, I know how to do it too. And going past intellect is very, very important. That's when the wisdom comes. That's where you ritualize and do it again and again. And as you move forward, you can see there are more distractions, but the fire starts to go down, which means the effort starts to go down. It becomes easier and easier to do. The elephant lightens up, even the bunny lightens up. The intellect starts to turn into wisdom. And in the next stage, for the first time, the monk is ahead of the elephant. You are in control of your mind as opposed to your mind running amok and controlling you. The monkey is still trying to hold back the elephant, but the elephant's really lightening up. The bunny is also lightening up. This mirror depicts self-absorption. At this point, there's a very big regressive pull to say, haha, look how, what a beautiful boy I am. And let me show others what to do. And as you move forward, you realize that the monk doesn't even have to look at the elephant. Look at that. And by the way, these last stages are very, very hard. They're ideal stages. Practically nobody reaches those stages. So these are thought to be, sort of high spiritual. So in Buddhist tradition, that would be called a bodhisattva. This person would be a Buddha. So we're not reaching there. So every day, and I always give my example, I'm lucky enough if I get to stage 4 or 5, that's a good day for me. So in 9 stages, you can start a day with stage 1 every day, and then you keep on moving past and see how far you go. And this is all about creating a ritual, having a practice of doing things when you don't know exactly where the other end is, but that you are doing things your way. You're bringing your best to the game every day. So in this 9 stages, it's not like when you get to stage 3 and now you have conquered stage 3. No, you go to stage 1 again, because you can fall back again if you're not careful. When the Western people met the Eastern martial arts for the first time in Okinawa, so the Americans were stationed there, and they said, oh, these martial arts are pretty good. Our soldiers should learn them too. And they had belts. So anybody martial arts person here, you know how many belts we have now in the West? We have 6. And somehow if you say I'm black belt, it's understood that, oh, now you are black belt forever. Whereas in the East, that was and is not the case. They only had two belts, a white and a black. And the black one was rarely worn. The good masters, even when they would be dead, they would die with a white belt. Forever a student, a lifelong learner is the attitude, the humble attitude. But for the Western trainer, it was very hard to keep people motivated with that mindset because that reflects life. Whereas, so they had to create a 1.0 method. So our Western method of 6 belts is 1.0 method, where I get the yellow belt and the green belt and the blue belt and the red belt. And then, I have attained those. That's kind of like certification. I did medical school, residency, fellowships, board certification. But real life mimics this 2.0 white belt to black belt, and hardly anyone is a black belt. So this is how you ritualize being impactful with others, by first ritualizing itself. That's the very, very first stage. So that's sort of like the one big picture when we talked about the mindset of others, particularly an admin, which physicians find it difficult, and then going on quests or expeditions of your choice, which are based on your pains, your problems, the monster you're going to slay, or the princess you're going to win, who's hiding on the mountaintop. It's all upon you, and you choose what you will do. So I put this together, and you will have this one as well for you to remind you that this is the way to be impactful with others long term without losing energy or steam. And this Tanka is easy to find online. And like Dr. Trainer has used it for about a year and shared with others, it's a very useful thing to look at every day and remind yourself, where do you feel today? So at this point, I'm going to give you, before we move on to the next thing, which is applying what you have learned right now, alive, which will also help you earn 2 extra CME hours by the end of this activity. But before I do that, I would like to hear from you what you think of this thing, what we just discussed. How much of this part looks kind of useful? How much of you think reflects your own real life and learning? What sounds like that's very difficult or sounded too abstract? So please tell me, so I can maybe help you answer some of these questions, because Life Start 2.0 mimics this. So any questions, any concerns about this? Did that look too hard? Did that look too easy? Did that look too simplistic? What do you think? And also, of course, because we took a few steps back from urgency. This is, yes, thank you, Dr. Trainer. This is very helpful for organizing thoughts. This is a way of organizing thoughts before you present to others. And you have to understand, this is a wonderful picture that also shows where other people's minds are on a given day. Almost everyone is in that first stage. They show up. So how do you get not just your own big, powerful elephant of a mind, which is dull and mindless, under control, but doing it with others? That's true, Sean says. It's not innate. That is absolutely true. In our brain, the parts which are just driving us this way or that way are not too far from each other. Nucleus accumbens is all dopamine is being produced, right? And but the prefrontal cortex is like less than a couple of inches away from it. But evolutionarily, it's like, a few 100,000 years away from that. And it has to be mindfully developed and grown. Yes. No, thank you, Sean. This doesn't come easy. But that's where how you make it easy is if you use your inner strengths, those character strengths that we have been talking about, the VIA character strengths, virtues in action. And that's where, so that gives you a little bit of a leg up. You heard Dr. Engelberg use the word weaponizing it. So that's sort of like making a tool. Weapon is a tool, right? You use a weapon as if it's a bad thing. A weapon can bring mercy, but it's a tool. So you use your own mind and its strengths, your character strengths as a tool to have a head up and ritualize it. That's where even I have seen that the power of social existence with others is very, very helpful doing it with others. Yes, thank you, Carol. These notes are helpful. I need time to digest the information. I'm looking forward to using this with new staff and helping me to mentor them. Yes, please. And the idea is in the beginning, if you start the practice of doing it, you'll be surprised at how far you'll go and use your strengths and watch a movie or two in the meantime. Seeing those movies will bring you into focus. And if anyone ever feels like, the list of movies sounds like boring or doesn't make sense, write to me. I can suggest a movie or two, which because that list has 4 or 5 movies per strength. And each one of those movies has more than one strength being shown as well. Again, even for watching movie, you can ritualize it with your staff. You guys can have a movie club with pizza every month. And so if you look at that document, I have added a few questions. There are 5 questions in the beginning that everyone can discuss about the movie. The character strengths is free. The whole team can do it together and then share what their strengths are. So this is very easy to do. It's fun stuff to do together. And as you know, this is evidence-based. So, very good. Now let me give you a heads up on what your post-program CME is going to look like. And Ralph is saying Mackenzie will email out the link, which you will use to evaluate and attest. So she will also send out a document which will have this activity that's coming up. So you will have 4 pre-program prep CME hours, 10 this program, 5 yesterday, 5 today, and 2 post-program CME hours, 4 plus 10 plus 2. All right. So now this is very interesting what I'm going to show you. And this came up as part of learning activity as we were growing this as well. So like I said, I have learned so much from doing this program. It's immense. So I call it a practice article because it was written as an article by someone. But this also works as a speech. So as you read this, because you'll take some time, I'll give you some time. It is in your email. You can open it, by the way. This is in your email already. So, and it's if you can't find it, please tell me. I can drop it in the chat as well. You can open it from there. So tell me if you don't have an access to it, because I'm going to ask you to read it for some time. We will read it silently. And then try answering the questions that I'm asking you, and then we will open up the chat again. So this is to read the article, have your own strengths assessment open so you can use 1 or 2 of your signature strengths when you try to improve upon the article. You can spend this time to do your strengths assessment. If you don't know the link, just let me know. I can send you the link. I can put the link in the chat if you don't have it. That strengths assessment takes 10-ish minutes, 15-ish minutes to do, but you have it instantly ready, and they don't spam you. They'll ask you for your email to send you back the assessment answer. It comes instantly available. But I'm going to ask you to edit in those 2 CME hours and then send it back to us. But these are the questions that you'll be answering, and I'll help you walk you through the answers now. What is the context of this article? If you were to rewrite what is your context that you will bring to table? Who is the writer or speaker speaking to? How would you address the people differently? How will you introduce your ethos if you were to talk at this level? Which means, why should people listen to you? So don't change the topic, but how you change the context and how you introduce your ethos is going to be so different. And when you build the content, what are the 1, 2, or 3 categorical statements you would make? Because then you will attach your pathos and logos, even ethos, to each one of those statements. And at the end, that's what we call the call to action. What do you want the reader or listener to do? How should they be thinking or feeling or acting differently? Is there a way you can make them do something different right now? Which is the urgency. And what's the title? Give us a good title. So, I can leave it open here, but it goes on more than 1 page. So tell me in the chat, who has the article? It starts with these words. I recently had the opportunity to attend the American Academy of Otolaryngology's mid-year forum. This is original. Let me state my credentials to give you some view as to my experience and validity of what I'm writing. I'm a counselor to American Academy of Otolaryngology, past president of American Osteopathic College of Otolaryngology, and president-elect and secretary for public and professional information for California Academy of Otolaryngology. I'm a fellow to both national organizations above. So we have AAO, AOCOO, HNS, and CAO. What does all this alphabet soup get me? Well, other than a second full-time job that doesn't pay, it gets me a front seat to what's going on at a state and national levels as far as our profession is concerned. So let's talk about Medicare reimbursement for medicine. The graph below tells a story. So this graph is from April 2023, and it shows between 2001 and 2023 what happened. So let's see how the writer describes the graph. The graph shows physician Medicare payments over the last 22 years. Compared to skilled nursing facilities, inpatient hospitals, and outpatient hospitals, as you can see, there's a definite deficit in physician payments compared to the others. Noted from American Academy of Otolaryngology's talking points over the last 22 points, Medicare physician payments have increased just 9% for physicians, which is 0.4% per year on average. Comparatively, the cost of running a medical practice increased 47% between 2001 and 2023. And when adjusted for inflation and practice costs, Medicare physician pay has effectively decreased 26% from 2001 to 2023. Otolaryngology practices are experiencing incredible financial pressures from higher staffing needs, rent, liability insurance premiums, and other practice costs due to record-setting inflation and increasing administrative burden. Meanwhile, physician payments are being decreased year after year due to a combination of budget neutrality adjustments and Medicare sequestration. All of this results in the fact that Medicare physician pay doesn't go nearly as far as it used to and is not enough. Also, the other groups shown in the graph have their Medicare payment tied to Medicare Economic Index, which measures the practice cost of inflation. It was armed with this information that we talked to our legislators on Capitol Hill. Most of the people we talked with had seen the same graph, as all of the medicine has been bringing it to the attention of Congress. Most of the people we talked with agreed it was an issue. Most of the people we talked with felt that something should be done. The question is, will they do something? Agreeing that something should be done and actually doing something about it are two very different things. There does not seem to be a will in Washington to do anything that may add more costs. The common past refrain was that until they hear enough complaints from patients not being able to see doctors, there is no political will to move forward. Well, as we can certainly tell from our profession, it's getting impossible for patients to see a pediatric otolaryngologist or a neuro-otolaryngologist. Even the wait times for a general otolaryngologist are long. To me, it means we are reaching a tipping point where either more money will have to get funneled into the system or the system is going to collapse. We have been amazing at adapting to continued pay cuts. We see more patients, we become more efficient, and yet we are still struggling to break even to our past years. Why am I even telling you all of this depressing news? It's because it's my job to get this info out there. It is your job to decide what you want to do with it. The options as I see it are to continue to move along and ignore or not acknowledge what is happening. The other option is to get active in your state and national societies. That is where advocacy happens. We are working for your benefit and we need your help. Are we going to succeed? I don't know. I do think that if we're going to lose, we should at least go down fighting for ourselves and our patients and our profession. Our legislators, both national and state, need to hear from us. So urge your patients who are having trouble getting in to see a subspecialist, to let their representative know how bad things are getting. Talk to your representatives about adjusting Medicare physician pay by linking it to the Medicare Economic Index. Let them know that the system is broken for us. At the very least, join and get your friends to join state societies. There is power in numbers. This message is no fun to deliver, but it is part of my job as Secretary of Public and Professional Information to get it out there. It is your job to do something about it. All right. Who doesn't have the article, first of all? Because if you don't, please let me know, because I can drop it in the chat. There you go. I'm going to post it in the chat. Okay. Did you get it? It's in the chat. You can click on it and open it. So does everyone have it? Can you say yes, please, in the chat that you have it? Okay, she said, I would like to adapt this. That's your homework, by the way. That's going to get you 2 hours of extra. Yes, Dr. Castillo says yes. So Carol, this is where at the end, yes, thank you, Mikhail. So yes, but cannot open yet if you can. So it's in your email as well. Whatever email you use to register for the program, it was sent out yesterday. That's Dr. Rahman. Okay, thank you. All set. So in the article, in this PDF on page 2, I have 9 questions for you. And if you have done your VIA character strength survey, thank you, Darren. Thank you, Daniel. Yes, you have it. You know, we can do many things with it at this point. However, I would like you to take this time to see it from that framework that I taught you yesterday and you have seen people present with, which is context, concept. Where are you going to educate or train or coach or mentor? keeping people in learning mode and not in panic, or keeping them totally comfortable and lazy or complacent. So like the article writer is saying, people are complacent. So you're the one who's going to bring them out into that place. The writer is acknowledging the problem of that the reader and what the call to action is. So in the end, the writer has more than one call to action. And how will you connect it to the context that you're going to decide? So you set the context and you command it. You saw a very good example of it today when Dr. Engelberg started saying, oh, imagine driving down the road at 100 miles an hour. He set the context right there. He said, this is what happened to me when my staff left. There you go. We can all feel it. We have all seen it. This has happened to us. So how will you set the context? Who is the writer talking to? How will you introduce your ethos? Yes, it's in the email. Yes, thank you. Oh, earlier, Dr. Morris had a comment about ritualizing, which is the difference between admin and physician. Even writing this article, when you write this or when you speak to people, it is a ritual to make these better and better. So, like I said, do you remember what I said? Where do you want to start? You have to start with call to action if you can't find the context. Laurie, can you open it from your email? Not from the chat, maybe? Oh, and from the chat? Did it work from the chat? So it doesn't open from your email, doesn't open from your chat. I can forward you if... Okay. You know what? I'll forward you. Please tell me your email. I'll forward you right now. Because I sent it to Ralph and Mackenzie. Okay. And yeah, Mackenzie says she will also send it to you. Okay. So I am sending it and Mackenzie can resend it. It's a PDF. Oh, you're welcome. So I would say let's spend about 15 minutes looking at it. You can read it. Oh, so I resend to Dr. Trainer too. So that's where. Because you will write it your way. By the way, I have changed enough. So the original writer wrote it information. Okay, I don't know. So why? So okay, I guess Mackenzie, you can send it to everyone one more time. So let me see what happens when I... Because when I open it from the chat, it opens up fine for me. Does your computer open it? Does your computer open other PDFs? Because it's just a PDF. And the best I can do is, leave one page at a time open. So I can share screen and see if that's helpful. So Yeah. So let's spend 15 minutes, then let's review the questions. Please be prepared to answer these questions because without your participation, it may not work for you because that's the ritual. That's where you, the monk, has to come out of your house and try to tame this elephant. This is a powerful article. It has enough in it. But how do you make it better for yourself and for you? And I thank the original writer for giving this gift. It just dropped in my lap. I said, we're going to use it to teach others instead of just talking about urgency. This is a live example. Hello? Oh, it's
There you go. I can hear you now.
oh, I wasn't talking. I was giving you time to reflect, read and reflect.
Oh, sorry.
Yes. Sometimes quiet can feel awfully quiet. Yeah, it's because I have muted myself.